Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on do our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll meet. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the...
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the...
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe, then you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be.
feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up
And move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the floor.
Baby, yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up. Baby.
Feel the groove, get on the floor.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Gotta get on up. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Random Topic Thursdays, the hottest live stream in the cosmos of social media. And as always, on a Thursday night, we want to thank you all for tuning in. The place to be is right here with me. We have our usual suspects, our usual fans in the chat. Darius from Atlanta, Danielle Meyer, Kid Gravity. We got one who cares. I'm sure we're going to have more coming in. Good evening to you all. And we, of course, want to ask, as you know, the channel is not monetized. If you could please donate to the Cash App, PayPal, Zelle that you see in the ticker at the bottom, and my mods have put in the chat box. I appreciate any donations. This channel is not monetized, so any support you can give to this channel, as I put in a lot of content, a lot of work, is appreciated. You can also go to Nawny'sCreoleBlends.com and order you some Creole seasoning, ladies and gentlemen. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nawny's goes great with every dish. And also, guys, we want you to buy my book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby, that's available on Kindle, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we want to bring in our guest, who is the author of The Woman Crisis. It's available on all digital downloads in any markets where books are sold. But in particular, he is the author of almost 80 books. He comes on here frequently every Thursday night. Everybody, please give it up for the one and only Mr. Sean James. It looks like he got some book sales because it looks like he's wearing some new glasses. What's going on, Sean?
I'm good, Gavin. How are you?
I'm doing all right, brother. How you doing?
I'm all right.
All right, how's your family?
We're all right.
That's good. You want to do a plug-in?
Well, I'm looking for my first paperback or ebook sale of Black History Month, and I'm asking everybody to head over to Amazon.com to pick up some great positive Black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint. And I'm also asking everybody to put in a pre-order for the latest new John Haynes series book, John Haynes Godbreaker, which will be available in paperback and digital format on March 31st.
By the way, I'm glad you brought that up, Sean, because we are celebrating here on YouTube Black History Month. We celebrate it all year, but since it is Black History Month, February, and this is also my birthday month, I want to salute to our Black history figure. What I'm going to be doing, especially on my Facebook page, is each week we're going to highlight notable contributions from Black Americans here in the United States in particular, in their respective fields. So this week it is Attorney Week, and I would like to shout out this gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Charles Hamilton Houston. Charles Hamilton Houston, for those that may not know, is given the nickname. This is a picture of him right here. Hold on. the man who killed Jim Crow. That was his nickname. He actually was the dean of Howard University. He taught many attorneys, including the future Supreme Court Justice of the United States, first Black Supreme Court Justice, Thurgood Marshall. I'm trying to get his picture up. I thought I had it there, on the NAACP's website, but that's him there. This is Charles Houston, and he was known for actually taking cases in the Deep South, segregated case, especially dealing with segregation, death penalty cases. He actually tried a case, Hollis versus State of Oklahoma, where he led an all-black legal team before the United States Supreme Court to appeal a murder case in which the defendant was convicted by an all-white jury and sentenced to death. The defense team had challenged the all-white jury during the trial, but the conviction was upheld in the appellate courts. However, when it reached the Supreme Court, they reversed the lower court's decision and ordered a new trial. This time, however, Hollins was convicted for a third time, again before an all-white jury, and he was sentenced to life in prison where he died in 1950, although it is stated that it is widely believed that Hollins was innocent. Even before that, he defended a man by the name of George Crawford on murder charges in London County, Virginia in 1933, and saved him from the electric chair. Through his work with the NAACP, Houston played a role in early civil rights cases that reached the United States Supreme Court between 1930 and Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. Charles Hamilton Houston died on April 22nd, 1950, at the age of 54. Should be noted that he was also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, graduated from Harvard Law School, and got his Bachelor of Arts at Emory's College. He also was a military man and served in World War I as an officer, and he also spent time as a judge advocate where he saw the racism that the Black soldier faced. So we salute, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, Mr. Charles Hamilton Houston, the man who killed Jim Crow. Give him a round of applause in the chat, please. All right. Now, let's get on to while we're here tonight, Sean. Happy early birthday to the little one, Danielle, and to you as well. Like, to happy birthday. So, Sean, you've already, I've seen your video. You've always done coverage of what happened with Tyre Nichols. I do want to talk about his funeral service. I've seen your video. Obviously, you were disturbed by what happened to him, like most of the world was. But I was curious, did you happen to see his funeral on yesterday?
No, I did not see his funeral.
Okay. Well, briefly, let me ask you a question about it, because we talked about this, I talked about this with my people on Tuesday and Sunday, actually, when the white officer, Peyton Hemphill, was identified as the one who initially stopped Mr. Nichols, or the third officer, I believe, that stopped at the initial stop. And he said, I hope they stomped his ass. But you notice that they did not disclose his identity until after the 5 Black officers were charged. Do you think that was, and he was actually he was not fired, he was suspended. Do you think that was all planned?
I do believe it was all planned, and I do believe that they were looking to protect this white officer. That's why they hid him from the mainstream media. Now, this white guy was basically at the scene with these 5 Black police officers, but the white supremacists who are a part of the political system, they made their efforts to protect this individual and keep his name out of the media until now. And that's so that they could go out here and make it where he wouldn't be able to continue being a white supremacist in the background. And again, white supremacy is going to protect its own. And that's something these Black officers didn't understand. They went out here looking to call themselves sending a message to the Black people in that community, not understanding the subtle politics transpiring around them. Because while this guy talked about stomping that Tyre Nichols, they were about to get stomped by this white supremacist system. And that's all because they always look out for their own, because While these black officers were all about blue, these white officers were about white supremacy, and they were out to protect that white supremacist from any sort of accountability for the crimes that he committed, possibly committed, because we're under it's innocent until proven guilty, and there have been no real charges. So they were out to protect him from any sort of charges, and that's what they did when they hung out these black officers to dry.
Yeah. And I'm not even fond though of the police chief that was there because she took time getting her story straight, and then we're finding some details about her time as a major in the Atlanta Police Department. I'm sure. Have you heard of that story?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, let's talk. Well, I don't know if you talk about it in the video, but do you have anything briefly you'd like to say about the police chief Davis?
Well, that female is basically another bootlick. And again, all what I'm seeing here is that we've got a lot of bootlicks in high places because, again, these black male officers were just thrown under the bus, and she was looking to protect her spot. So what happened in Memphis, even though it was a chocolate city with a chocolate mayor and a chocolate police chief, is we got the same old white supremacy because we got bootlicks in place, and the bootlick's job isn't about enforcing the law. No, it was all about protecting and preserving white supremacy.
She led actually one of the most notorious police units in Atlanta, the Red Dog Crime Unit, who were known for being overly aggressive. And now she had the Scorpion Unit that she's being praised for disbanding, but she created it.
Well, that's what they do. They create these units to control black people. Their whole thing is about oppressing black masses and getting favor with white supremacy. And that's what a bootlick does. They will oppress their own people. I talked about this in the video about spellbound blacks and a live stream I talked about spellbound blacks. They will oppress their own hard because they want that white acceptance. They want those jobs. And that's what they want is that favor and approval from whites. And they get that by oppressing other blacks and forcing them into these black boxes and making sure that those black people don't come out of those black boxes so that they can be the ones accepted by white supremacy.
We're going to play a clip now. I have this here. You're aware, Sean, the funeral, as I said, it was yesterday, and several people, including Vice President Kamala Harris, Reverend Al Sharpton, who was doing the eulogy, and Ben Crump, spoke at Tyre Nichols' funeral. We're going to play some clips from that, and then I'm going to get your take.
You do for so many. There are so many families.
Fair use, by the way,
personally touched
everyone.
by your leadership and your strength and your fellowship.
Not me.
Reverend Dr. Lawrence Turner for welcoming us. Keisha Lance Bottom, Mitch Landrew. We are here on behalf of the people of our country and our president, Joe Biden. And we are here to celebrate the life of Tyre Nichols. Mrs. Wells, Mr. Wells, you have been extraordinary in terms of your strength, your courage, and your grace. And we mourn with you, and the people of our country mourn with you. And I just have, I'm gonna be very brief. Mothers around the world, when their babies are born, pray to God when they hold that child that that body and that life will be safe for the rest of his life.
Somebody actually commented, she says that, but yet she supports abortion.
Yet we have a mother and a father who mourn the life of a young man who should be here today. They have a grandson who now does not have a father. His brothers and sister will lose the love of growing old with their baby brother. And when we look at this situation, this is a family that lost their son and their brother through an act of violence at the hands and the feet of people who had been charged with keeping them safe. And when I think about the courage and the strength of this family, I think it demands that we speak truth. And with this, I will say, this violent act was not in pursuit of public safety. It was not in the interest of keeping the public safe, because one must ask, was not it in the interest of keeping the public safe that Tyre Nichols would be with us here today? Was he not also entitled to the right to be safe? So when we talk about public safety, let us understand what it means in its truest form. Tyre Nichols should have been safe. So I'll just close by saying this. I was, as a senator, as a United States Senator, a co-author of the original George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And as Vice President of the United States, we demand that Congress pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Joe Biden will sign it. And we should not delay, and we will not be denied. It is non-negotiable. And with that, I'll just, Pastor, if you don't mind, one of my favorite verses in Scripture is Luke chapter 1, verse 79.
She didn't do her hyena laugh.
Which tells us God will help us to shine a light upon those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet in the way of peace. Let our memory of Tyre shine a light on the path toward peace and justice. Thank you.
All right. Now that's what Kamala Harris said. So I got to we'll play some of Ben Crump and Al Sharpton's eulogy. But so let me just do that right quick. And then Sean, I'll let you get your take on what happened. But this is Al Sharpton.
Work in sanitation. And the reason why, Mr. and Mrs. Wells, what happened to Tyre is so personal to me is that 5 black men that wouldn't have had a job in the police department would not ever be thought of to be in an elite squad. In the city that Dr. King lost his life, not far away from that balcony, you beat a brother to death. There's nothing more insulting and offensive to those of us that fight to open doors, that you walk through those doors and act like the folks we have for to get you through them doors.
Did you say something?
Yeah.
Wait, you said something?
I didn't say anything.
You didn't get on the police department by yourself. Police chief didn't get there by herself. People had to march and go to jail, and some lost their lives to open the doors for you. And how dare you? Act like that sacrifice was nothing. You ain't in no New England state, you in Tennessee, where we had to fight for you. And you take that position and do what we saw. And then some of y'all got all this mess on social media. Let me tell you something. I don't know what you writing on social media. I know what I saw on the tape. And the tape speaks for itself. They never asked this man for his license. Never asked for the car registration. Snatched him out of the car and began beating him. Nobody mentioned nothing about no girlfriend. Nobody mentioned nothing about no man. They started beating an unarmed man. In the city that they slayed the dreamer, what has happened to the dream? In the city where the dreamer laid down and shed his blood, you have the unmitigated gall to beat your brother, chase him down and beat him some more, call for backup, and they take 20 minutes. And you watch him, and you are too busy talking among each other. No empathy, no concern. If you read the story of Joseph, when his brothers threw him in the pit, nobody came to help him, like nobody came to help Tyre. Waiting on ambulance service that didn't show up until it's too late. What will happen to his dream? Well, we'll just tell them something else happened, but we are going to throw him in the pit. But I come to Memphis today to tell you the same mistake Joseph's brothers made is a mistake you made. You thought you threw Joseph in a pit. You thought you threw Dr. King's dream in a pit. But every time you throw something in a pit, God takes the pit and raises it up and changes the whole world.
All right. I'm going to play one last clip, and that's from Ben Crump. And I'm going to get Sean's take on it.
Sharpton. Y'all give it up for one of the greatest mountain climbers in America today, Reverend Al Sharpton, mountain climber. Thank you for being a mentor and just a person who always answers the bell. A lot of these families here, Reverend Al, you answered the bell for when many people wouldn't answer the bell. We know the big names that became hashtags, but for every George Floyd, for every Breonna Taylor, for every Ahmaud Arbery, there are 100 other nameless black people who've been killed in America that nobody remembered that you answered the bell, Reverend Al Sharpton, and I want to say thank you publicly. To Pastor Turner, thank you for allowing us in your cathedral. All the other clergy. To Mayor Keisha Lance Bottom, we thank you for coming. To Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who told Rovon and Rodney that not only is she going to reintroduce the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act right after the State of the Union address, but she is also going to have a Tyre Nichols duty to intervene in that legislation. So thank you. So, Congressman Steve School, we thank you for your great leadership here in Memphis, Tennessee. And certainly to Mitch Landry. And I would be remiss, Reverend Al, if I didn't acknowledge yet again the highest ranking African-American woman in United States history, the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, who did not think it robbery to take time out of her busy schedule to come and comfort this Black mother who lost her child unjustly. Thank you, Madam Vice President. We will never forget this day.
I will.
And then I want to acknowledge some of the activists. Ernestine Doris, Van Turner, the NAACP president, local here in Memphis. Attorney Chris O'Neill, Attorney Natalie Jackson, Attorney Sue Ann Robinson, our whole team, Kareem Ali. We are all in this together fighting for justice for you, Marvin, for you, Mr. Rodney, fighting for justice. And so when we do the call to action, it really is a plea for justice. It is a plea for Tyre Nichols, the son. It is a plea for justice for Tyre Nichols, the brother. It is a plea for justice for Tyre Nichols, the father. But most of all, it is a plea for justice for Tyre Nichols, the human being. The human being. And when we watch, we don't see the Memphis Police Department Scorpion Unit extend 1 ounce of humanity during that 1 hour and 7-minute video. Ask your neighbor, why couldn't they see the humanity in Tyre? Turn to your neighbor and ask them that. Why couldn't they see the humanity in Tyre? For his mama. Turn to your neighbor again and ask them, why couldn't they see?
You see her? Like, what? You know, I told y'all I met Ben Crump before. He was pretty cool with me. I know a lot of people don't care for him online. There are some people who think he's just there to get a check. You know, but here's the thing. He's not a prosecutor. He's a civil attorney. He's a wrongful death attorney. And, well, one of his practice areas is wrongful death. But I'll finish playing maybe like 1 more minute because I want Sean to
see the humanity in Tyre. And then finally for his son, turn to your neighbor and ask, why couldn't they see the humanity in Tyre? Because we have to make sure.
That woman still look miserable. She's like, what? You see that?
They see us as human beings. And once we acknowledge that we're human beings worthy of respect and justice, then we have the God-given right to say, I am a human being and I deserve justice. Not just any justice, but equal justice. And that's what we're going to get for Tyre Nichols, equal justice. And Miss Marv, Miss Ravon, Rodney, Jamal, Michael, Kiana, to all his family, grandma, his son. I know we can't bring Tyre back, but in this call to action, we establish his legacy. And let's never let them forget Memphis, because his legacy will be one of equal justice. It will be the blueprint going forward, because we have to remember that in less than 20 days, when it was 5 black police officers captured on a video engaging in excessive use of force, when they were committing crimes on video, that they were terminated, they were arrested, and they were charged. And the police chief, Davis, and I have respect for her saying this, the police chief said that it was important that the community see us take swift action. They said it was important that we move swiftly towards justice. Well, when Laquan McDonald was killed in Chicago and by white police officers, it's important that the community see swift justice too. When Alton Sterling was killed in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Mitch, it's important that the community see swift justice too. When Stephon Clark was killed in Sacramento, California, it's important that the community see swift justice too. When Eric Gardner was killed in Staten Island, New York, it's important that the community see swift justice too.
All right, I'm done. Sean, would you give your take on what you observed from both the Vice President, Reverend Harris, Reverend Al, and Attorney Crump?
Well, I'd have to say that that church must have been smelling with all that bullshit in the air, because there was just a bunch of empty words from empty people making an empty symbolic visit to this funeral. All of these people, there was more crap coming out of their mouth than coming out of their backsides, and they weren't really doing anything except trying to say things that made people feel good. And that's all this whole Vice President Harris and Al Sharpton and Ben Crump going to the funeral of Tyre Nichols was all about. It was all about these black bootlicks going out here and trying to tell people what they wanted to hear to make them feel good, and not really being a part of anything substantive. Now, I found all of these individuals to be completely disingenuous and dishonest with all of their empty words, because they're sitting here talking about Tyre Nichols, and none of them really care about anything that happened to Tyre Nichols. No, this is just their way of making an appearance, and they want to make this appearance to make it look like they care, but clearly none of these bootlicks care about anything, because 2 years after George Floyd wound up sadly being murdered by Derek Chauvin, we have your Kamala Harris coming out here talking about, oh, we need to pass the George Floyd Bill. And it just shows how full of shit she actually is, because she clearly knows that the George Floyd Bill wouldn't go anywhere with the current Kevin McCarthy's Republican Congress. And it just shows how full of shit she is, because, again, she's sitting here talking about passing this bill when Biden and her had both houses and Senate and could have easily passed that bill back when in 2020, 2021, or 2022, when they had political power. So they could have easily passed that bill, but they want to make it look like that we need to go out here and demand that something be done. But they didn't want to do anything at all except just go out here and make all of these speeches that mean absolutely nothing, because these people, black lives don't matter. No, these are all empty symbolic gestures to go out here and make it look like they're going to do something when they're going to do nothing at all except collect their fees from the church for making this speech, and going out here and making their virtue signal, making it look like they're doing something when they're doing absolutely nothing at all. So when I look at this whole situation, again, it's just a whole bunch of crap. And it's a bunch of crap because it's that these people basically have no respect for the dead. And they come out here to make it look like they care, but they don't care, because if they really cared, they'd be all about the tangible of getting justice. And they wouldn't just be with a George Floyd bill. It would be with serious policies, not only as related to police reform, but also calling out all of the insidious white supremacy as related to the spellbound minds of many people out here, like those spellbound black folks who thought that they were blue when they murdered Tyre Nichols. No, these guys, they're just a bunch of BS artists. I mean, you got the usual suspects making the usual speeches, telling people what they want to hear. And we've heard this from Kamala Harris, who again was sent out by Joe Biden to be representing black people to make it look like she cared. And also we got Al Sharpton trying to make his usual appearance. And we got Ben Crump, again, all talking a good game. But my critical question to most people is, when do you get tired of hearing the hot air? Because it's been time for action for many years. And in the past 3 years since the George Floyd uprisings, we've seen all of these guys come up and try to come out with these empty gestures. And I have to say, Black Americans, you got to get tired of these empty gestures, because you're getting the same result. And the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result, because every time a black person winds up dying at the hands of police, they go out here, trot out their bootlicks, have them make these empty speeches, these empty gestures, and some get pacified and nothing gets changed. And again, that's the definition of insanity, doing the exact same things and expecting a different result. And what I saw with these speeches, again, more hot air and more crap coming out of these people's front sides than their back sides.
Yeah, and I think when you have my whole thing too, yeah, Kamala Harris, she even mentioned that she was a senator and talked about her time then. You had Barack Obama, former President Obama, who even made some remarks about this. I look at all these guys and like, you had an opportunity. Those are the five punks there that beat up Tyre Nichols to death. But you had, excuse me, an opportunity, especially after the murder of Trayvon Martin, Mr. President, former President Obama, that you could have said something, that you could have enacted legislation, even though George Zimmerman was not a police officer, but even the stuff subsequent that we saw after that, the Eric Garner situation, the Laquan McDonald up in Chicago. I believe that was Laquan McDonald was in 2015. Am I right?
Yeah.
And the cops covered that up. Let's not forget in 2008 when Sean Bell was shot and killed before his wedding day. When black people were lining up, going out to go cast their vote, their ballots for President Obama. And he didn't say shit. And to be honest, the only reason why he commented, he left this remark tweeting, said the vicious, unjustified beating of Tyre Nichols and his ultimate death at the hands of 5 Memphis police officers is just the latest painful reminder of how far America still has to go in fixing how we police our streets. You actually co-signed the street. You co-signed this. You approved this. The Blue Lives Matter bill, that was signed by Obama. He signed things to increase police, to increase the state police. Excuse me 1 second. I gotta take this. Yeah, hello. I had to take that. I have dealing with a little family issue right now, but excuse me. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, there's this whole thing, again, just a whole lot of disingenuousness from all that came there. and just extremely dishonest. They talk about how we need change, but all they're doing with their showing up was showing us how the status quo really isn't about making any sort of tangible change. And that's why people have to stop listening to these kind of people and see right through their disingenuous gestures of so-called making these idiotic and symbolic speeches that mean absolutely nothing at the end of the day, because none of these people really care until they're the ones who get targeted by these white supremacists, because it's just a matter of time before they get tired of going after people like Tyre Nichols and then eventually start going after them.
Right. He signed this blue alert law. They supported militarizing the police departments. And one thing I will agree with the conservatives on, a lot of these things take place is true. It has taken place in Democratic cities, those cities that are run by the Democrats. A lot of the problems do stem there. The leadership, there's blame to go all around, but where the conservatives, and I talked about this on my show Tuesday, Sean, where the rubber meets the road. I'm sorry, it was on Sunday. It's Tuesday or Sunday, but it's really Sunday. When the rubber meets the road with the black conservatives and black people is that they then start using white supremacist talking points to attack black people and ignore the main issue. You want to blame Tyre Nichols for resisting, but don't blame the officers for concocting a false narrative as to why they pulled him over. Because the police chief has even said there's no evidence that he violated any traffic law. So the issue should not just be about the resistance. We could talk about that later. Yeah, that may factor in, but ultimately you had no grounds in which to stop a person. It's like saying you said I was speeding, but you don't have the speedometer that shows how many miles I was going over the speed limit. You don't have, are you saying I ran a red light? Well, you all know the light was green. You were following me. And our Democratic leaders don't do shit about it. And I'm really just tired of it. I'm really just tired of this because it's all a shit show.
Yep. It's a clown show.
And they can pull that off in church because a lot of, I'm going to just say it, a lot of our people have fallen asleep in church. This is the reason why a lot of black men have left. I'm not going to get in religion and talk about that because I believe in God too. And yeah, I believe there's a purpose for religious organizations because there has to be law and order and structure with stuff, but damn. And I knew it was going to be like that. Now, to go to the issue, because you did a video about the allegations regarding, and I talked about it too, as to what happened with Tyre Nichols, why he may have been pulled over. It's been going on social media. His stepfather, Rodney Wells, has denied that allegation that he allegedly was sleeping with the wife of Demetrius Bailey. And we don't know that for a fact. But the way that they acted, from what we saw in the video, Sean, it seemed like it seemed to me like it was certainly deliberate. And I don't know officers, and being an attorney, someone that has practiced law for 8 years and has seen some police brutality cases, while it's true there are officers that go overboard. This was not just overboard. This was going overboard with ankle weights down to the bottom of the ocean with a bag of chum attached so you could also get eaten by the sharks. This was as bad as it gets. So it seemed personal to me, just from my observation of it. Did you think that when you saw it initially?
I believe it looked very personal to me in that it wasn't really about what people were speculating what it's about. They think it was, some of those people on social media were rumoring that it was about one of these guys, baby mamas, dating Tyre Nichols, which I really thought was false because it just didn't make any sense to me that the other officers would get involved with that. Because if a group of men, they would look at that guy and they would try to squash that. But I believe what really happened was that these guys basically wanted to send a message to members of that Memphis community that if you got out of line, that this would happen to you. Again, no different than what the Ku Klux Klan did when they participated in their terrorism. And I've heard that several of these officers had issues in the past. Some of them were former gang members. Other ones were former prison guards. So a lot of these individuals, they had serious power issues. And what they wanted to do was terrorize that community. They wanted to strike fear in people's hearts. Again, no different than the Ku Klux Klan used to do back in the days of Jim Crow when they would lynch individuals. So that's what I believe that these officers were participating in as part of the Scorpion unit. And what they wanted to do was they became a gang looking to break someone and make an example out of them. And that's why they targeted Tyre Nichols. And they wanted to make an example of this black man to send a message to those in the community, no different than the Ku Klux Klan, no different than the Crips or the Bloods or any of these other gangs out here. They would go out here and want to send a message by breaking somebody down and say that if you cross us, this can happen to you. And that's where we see how these type of individuals, they look to participate in terrorism. And we have to start calling it terrorism because this is the kind of terrorism that puts fear in people in black communities. And this is the type of fear people lived in during the 80s with the drug dealers and the gangs. People used to live in this kind of fear. Oh, if we we can't offend these dope boys and these gang members, because if we do, they will be dead in the street. And that's the kind of message that they wanted to send with the murder of Tyre Nichols, because I believe that they were targeting Tyre Nichols for murder, and they were targeting so they can make an example out of him. And again, they would have did this to any random person, because I grew up in this kind of thing in the South Bronx, and even when I was going to high school. And again, they would have chosen anyone to do this if they were black. And again, it's all about power for these individuals and maintaining their turf. And that's not the standard that police officers are supposed to be under according to their policies. But this was the unwritten social policies that these individuals had created, because they wanted to strike fear in that community, and they wanted to strike fear of law enforcement. And again, putting people in that community between a rock and a hard place, because you not only have to fear the criminals, but you also have to fear the cops too.
Fuck the police, because I'm coming straight from the underground. The young nigga got it bad because I'm brown. NWA 1988. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Last topic I want to discuss, IIhan Omar has been, Representative IIhan Omar has been ousted. GOP leaders, they had a vote on this earlier today. I want to play a video, obviously, from that today, where they made the historic, well, I shouldn't say historical vote, but they made the vote, and IIhan Omar gave a speech about getting the boot, as well as her colleague spoke in defense of her.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
The 9-year-old me would be disappointed if I didn't talk about the victims of conflict, those that are experiencing unjust wars, atrocities, ethnic cleansing, occupation, or displacement like I did. They are looking to the international community and the United States, asking for help. They look to us because the international community and the United States profess the values of protecting human rights and upholding international law. So we owe it to them not to make this a myth, but a reality. I didn't come to Congress to be silent. I came to Congress to be their voice. And my leadership and voice will not be diminished if I am not on this committee for one term. My voice will get louder and stronger, and my leadership will be celebrated around the world as it has been. So take your vote or not. I am here to stay, and I am here to be a voice against harms around the world and advocate for a better world. I yield back.
Those in favor say aye. Those in favor say no. It's It's the opinion of the chair that the ayes have it and the resolution is agreed to. And without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
With 218 votes, and you had some other people, of course, AOC and a few others that stood in favor of her.
I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Illinois, Representative Schakowsky. No?
The representative is recognized for 1 minute.
We didn't tell her.
My colleagues, I stand before you as a proud Jew and a proud friend and colleague of IIhan Omar. I don't need any of you to defend me against anti-Semitism. My friend IIhan Omar, we have worked together to the values that I treasure as an American Jew and that she treasures as an American member of the Islamic woman, the only one on the Foreign Affairs Committee. That is the third largest religion in the world. And we in the United States of America. I am just furious. We have seen all kinds of anti-Semitism from the other side of the aisle. And as Americans, we should be.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Vote no on this. We need
the gentlewoman's
to defend
time
our
has expired
as Americans and me as a Jew.
Now, if you know IIhan Omar, I think she's part of that group, the squad that they have, all of these black, even though she's, I don't believe IIhan Omar, was she from the United States or not?
I don't think she's from the U.S.
That didn't sound like she was. And I think she was naturalized here. So she's from Somalia. Yeah. And remember, she came under criticism a couple of years ago. She tweeted that the pro-Israelis, quote, were all about the Benjamins. Pro-Israeli groups were all about the Benjamins. She apologized for that. 2 years later, she seemingly equated atrocities carried out by the U.S. military to those committed by terrorist groups like the Taliban and Hamas. She later said she had not meant to compare them, but she also had, and this, I guess, was a move that was created by Senator McCarthy. McCarthy and the members of his leadership team were nowhere to be seen during the floor debate. And McCarthy defended the decision to remove Ms. Omar, telling reporters that it was not tit for tat, but based on her statements. Mr. McCarthy stated, quote, "I'm not removing people from all committees," pointing out that Ms. Omar has been excised from just one panel, unlike Ms. Green and Ms. Gozar. But his effort to oust Ms. Omar stalled and nearly faltered in recent weeks, highlighting the challenges Mr. McCarthy faces as he tries to make good on his promised agenda with a razor-thin majority that has already proved to be unruly. And I think the vote was 218 to 211, so it was along party lines, so it was not a majority. It was a majority decision, but it was not unanimous. And
I had a member of the Republican caucus threaten my life, and you all and the Republican caucus rewarded him with one of the most prestigious committee assignments in this Congress. Don't tell me this is about consistency. Don't tell me that this is about a condemnation of anti-Semitic remarks when you have a member of the Republican caucus who has talked about Jewish space lasers and an entire amount of tropes, and also elevated her to some of the highest committee assignments in this body. This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology
has
energy when my
expired.
life was threatened. Thank you.
All right. What do you make of it, Sean?
Well, I make of it another circus with another lot of drama that means absolutely nothing at the end of the day. Because when the Red Party got the majority, they got the right to pick whoever goes on their committees. And them dumping IIhan Omar was basically going to happen no matter what. And it was going to happen because the Red Party now has the majority in the House. And all of this is just a bunch of political theater meant to make people feel like something bad was done when nothing was done except people just decided to vote for the Red Party to have this razor-thin majority. That's all that happened here. And it happened because those in the Blue Party took Americans for granted.
For more on the drama.
And they have no respect for Americans. But now they want to make themselves out to be the victim of some sort of mistreatment when they've been abusing the American people for years, because IIhan Omar did nothing for most Americans. I mean, all she did was go out here, team up with this so-called squad, and they made a lot of noise, but they did a lot of nothing for anyone. Her, AOC, that Rashida Tlaib, they were just absolutely useless. And I was hoping that they would all get voted out of office, but the pathetic people of the pathetic states of America allowed them to still keep their jobs. And this is it's like the only thing that we're going to get as related to getting this woman off of a committee. She's absolutely useless. And she'll be back on another committee with the Blue Party's minority, talking a lot of hot air, because they just booted her off a committee that I believe she wouldn't have been a good fit for, because IIhan Omar has been speaking bad about America for some time, and having her on a foreign policy committee is detrimental to the image of America and the optics. So everybody wants to make it like, oh, she was done so bad. No, this is business as usual. And when the majority party gets its position, what they do is kick out people. This is just what happens in the business of politics. And what they want to do is create political theater to play the victim when they're actually the abusers of the American people.
Yeah, I mean, that squad that they have, the squad, or I call them the squid, the squab, like a bird.
Yep.
Squad, I call them the squab. They've done virtually little. And yes, it's true when you get it's just basically like when a president changes, when there's a different president, there's a different administration, they don't keep the same staff. They don't keep the same people, and Congress does the same thing. Now, whether my feelings towards the Republicans, I don't care for them either. And yes, there are a lot of hypocrites there, but I'm not singing the blues. I'm not crying the blues over IIhan Omar, because honestly, she hadn't done shit.
No.
I can't think of anything she's done. And it's not just her, it's all of, I mean, it's really the entire, and it's not just her, it's the entire Congress has been bad.
I mean, useless.
And this is the squad here. Cori Bush, AOC, IIhan Omar, and Ayanna Pressley. I think that's the squad?
Squad I thought was AOC. I thought it was IIhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and I think it was Cori Bush. It was like they're the four stooges.
Yeah, but Ayanna Pressley I thought was part of that.
Well, it's one of them, but they're absolutely useless. They do nothing for anyone.
Thank you, Cheryl Massey, for your donation. Yeah, the squad melts downs. Yeah, they're out basically by kicking her out. I don't know if they're on what other committees they are on. Because this article says the squad is out of power and relishing a new fight. Yeah, IIhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, and Rashida Tlaib. But Tlaib is gone, I believe. Yeah, this is the squad. Talib is still there. I'm sorry. So Talib is here, but I didn't. Okay. Talib is still there because she's out in Michigan. But you got Jamal. Oh God, him. Jamal Bowman. So this is your squad, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't have it. I thought it was all female for some reason, but I can't tell you anything that they've done for the American people. Not one. This is what all were elected under the age of 50 and have been supported by the Justice Democrats Political Action Committee and on the left wing of the Democratic Party. So basically, they align themselves with anything the Democratic Party puts up. If you're talking about abortion, LGBTQ, if you're talking about what's another topic we're talking about that's left wing, anything that aligns with that, they support. Women's rights, yeah. Climate change, yeah, all of that stuff. So that's all part of that. Okay, what have they done progressively for the black community? Now, these all are mostly black with the exception of maybe one or two of them. What have they done? At least Miss Talib, who I don't believe she's not a black American. She's from Palestine. Her family's from Palestine. She serves, if it's up there in Michigan, which is the 12th congressional district, that's in Detroit, from what I'm reading. It was located in Detroit's inner suburbs at one point. It's 75% white, 10% black. He represented at one time the 13th district, which was 55% black, 33.7% white, 6.8% Hispanic. So there are portions of Detroit in this. But what have they done? What has it gotten us? Brother Bernard said, good riddance. All right, thank you, Stacy Quinton. I saw you there. Good vibes. I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, Computer Robot says, well, she got what she deserved to call. All she does is sit around and do the talk, but does not do the walk. Yeah. Yeah, that's like, I'm not impressed with him, but we'll see what happens, I guess, in the near future. I'm really don't, and basically by that I mean virtually nothing, because Congress does nothing. I didn't have much more to say, Sean, with tonight's show. I thought it would be brief, but if there's something you want to talk about in particular, if you want to do another plug-in, you can do that.
Well, I'll do another plug-in because I really want to get that first sale for Black History Month. And I'm asking everybody to head over to Amazon.com to pick up a paperback or pre-order my new John Hayes book, John Hayes Godbreaker, because I want to continue producing positive Black fiction. I want to continue sharing positive Black fiction with everyone out here. And I can only do that with your support. So I'm asking everybody to head over to Amazon.com to pick up the paperback or Kindle book and help me get my first paperback and ebook sale for Black History Month, because part of keeping Black history strong is supporting Black-owned publishers like myself so we can continue telling stories about the Black experience.
Well, I'm going to do this before we get off. I'm going to take a couple of phone calls. We haven't done it in a while. We'll take a couple of phone calls. Go ahead. The number is 504-656-6760, 656-6760. Call in, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your calls, at least your questions or comments, at least for about a minute. Tell me what you think of tonight's program, if you want that you want to say specifically. Buy some of Sean's books, like The Woman's Crisis and so forth. I got a question for Sean. Sean, though, you talked about this before, but is there anything, what would get you out? I'm curious to do screenwriting because you've talked about it before and you mentioned you're all about Nikki's screenplay that you tried to shop around, but you said you have no interest in going into movies or anything like that. But what would get you out what would get you
Only
out?
thing that would get me out of it is to see that I could sell one. I mean, because the whole thing is with screenwriting, you can write scripts for 6-7 months and you're not going to make any money on the deal. So the only thing that's going to get me interested in writing another screenplay is if I saw some money on the table, because usually once you go out here and write the screenplay, it's going to get rewritten again. So if I'm going to put in that work for a script that's going to get rewritten again by another writer, I got to see a payday coming to me as related to selling the screenplay and possibly getting some residuals and possibly getting getting into things like the WGA.
Yeah, and that can take time doing that. But you know, they are speaking of Black history, Sean. They do have some Black producers, Black directors out there. Just curious, had you ever tried shopping it to them?
I can't even get anybody's name because the way the business works, you got to have an agent, but you can't get an agent because you're not taking any material. So if I did scripts, it would have to be a way for me to get the script sold, whether I get an agent or whatever. I would need to find a way to get this script sold because if there's no money on the table, I got no reason to put fingers to the keyboard. The reason why I publish books is because the books sell, but I need to find a way to get this to sell. Or that's the only way I'm going to be able to even have an incentive to go do any scripts.
Well, the screenplay has to first be registered with the Writers Guild before a producer will look at it. But just like
my scripts are registered. Maryland was registered with the WGA years ago. My scripts are registered with the U.S. Copyright Office, but I'm not seeing no money outside of maybe paperback sales. So
I'm talking in general. I'm talking in general that usually producers won't look at it unless you get that WGA stamp. And of course,
I have one. I had one of those certificates years ago.
Yeah, I know. You just said it, yeah. But I'm just talking for those in general that don't know. But yeah, pick up one of Sean's books. Here's at this link. He has also The Woman Crisis, which is a must read. Reason being, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to announce I'm working on my next screenwriting. Oh, we got a call right now. Hold on. Hello, who's calling?
Hi, this is Cheryl.
Yeah, how you doing, Sister Cheryl? Welcome to the broadcast.
All right, thank you. Good evening to both of you and everybody listening tonight.
Good evening.
And in the spirit of Black History Month,
yes,
I just wanted to recommend the Civil Rights History Movement for people to look into. It's been done by the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian Institute. And anyone that's interested in that, in the civil rights movement and what actually happened, the people that were there, they do oral interviews. And they're really good interviews, and you get a good look at what the civil rights movement was really about.
You said the Civil Rights History Museum?
Excuse me?
You said the Civil Rights History Museum? You talking about out in Atlanta?
I'm talking about oral interviews that was done through the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian Institute.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
It's called the Civil Rights History Project and was sponsored by Library of Congress, Smithsonian Institute, and a lot of the oral interviews that they conducted with people that were actually there and that participated in the civil rights movement.
Yeah, this is I got the link actually for everybody in the chat, and I'm showing it on screen right now.
Just in the spirit of Black History Month. But you probably be amazed once you start listening to some of these stories that these people give their testimony to as far as what they saw and participated in the 1960s in the civil rights movement. You really begin to see how I don't know what word to use. How, well, in other words, I just want to say I've never felt more proud and more knowledgeable, and I know really what happened because these are people that were actually there. And
Okay.
I'm talking about boots on the ground people. I mean, you get a variety of
Right.
of testimonies from a lot of people, you know, that were there in SCLC and SNCC. And I guess some of these stories are amazing. And the thing that stuck out to me is that I didn't find anything that I didn't believe. That seemed like the stories fitted just like pieces to a puzzle. These stories
Okay.
were done different times of years. I think the earliest might have been 2000. The latest one I've seen is in 2019. So just something, you know, if you want to do something for Black History, that'd be something really interesting to look into.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll keep that in mind, Cheryl. We appreciate you, and I thank you for your donation. Okay.
All right. You're welcome. Have a good evening, both of you.
All right. And stay out. Stay warm. I know it's cold up there in Ohio.
Yeah, a little chilly. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Good night. That was Sister Cheryl Massey. We thank her. She's always been good to me and good to my channel. So appreciate that. Well, we're going to be doing for Black History Month. We're going to be highlighting not just on the page every time I come on the web, not every time I come on live here, but also I'm going to post some stuff too. So this week is attorneys. Yesterday I celebrated A.P. Turo, who was a big civil rights attorney here in New Orleans. We have a street named after him. My high school, St. Augustine High School, is actually on that same street that it's named after. But I have a lot to, we have a lot to go into. So tomorrow I'll be talking about another Black History Month. Will be another attorney, and it will be none other than, if it don't fit, you must have quit, Mr. Johnny Cochran. So he will be celebrating him tomorrow. So all this week is Black attorneys and judges. I'll probably do a little bit more Black attorneys and judges because, as you know, this is the shortest month of the year. And each week I'm going to be doing different people. So next week might be inventors. A lot of people need to know about the Black inventors. And speaking of museums, we want to give a special shout out. I don't care what the haters say, but Tariq Nasheed, I'm sure you've heard this, Sean. He did create the Hidden History Museum that's set to open this February, and it was done. And we want to give him a special shout out to Tariq Nasheed, and congratulations, because he has created the Hidden History Museum that will be opening in February. So big shout out to him right there. That ought to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to him. Also, who else did I want to shout out? Thank you, Darius. Yeah, go to and subscribe to our Facebook page at Commonwealth Cause. Get our book, get my book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby, on Kindle, ladies and gentlemen. Also, as I stated before, you can advertise with our channel by hitting me up via email, or you can also support the Patreon for content you won't find here on YouTube. Also, go to NarnisCreoleBlends.com, order you some Creole seasoning, fried on chicken, meat, or fish. Narnis goes great with every dish. I don't have any more to add to tonight's broadcast. It's been great having our brother Sean come on, and you should check out his books. Sean, tell everybody what the live stream will be about tomorrow.
Well, I haven't figured out what the live stream is going to be about, but it might possibly be about why you shouldn't fight over a woman.
Oh. Okay, that ought to be interesting. What if it's your wife?
Only woman you can stand up for her, but it's up to a point.
What about your mom?
No, that's the only two women I would say you can stand up for, but the rest of them.
Or if you have a little sister.
Yeah, well, depends on what they get themselves into.
So Sonny Corleone should learn his lesson with messing with trying to mess with Carlo Rizzi. in The Godfather when he went out to go and get when he went to go beat up Carlo for hitting his sister again. Y'all gotta excuse me, man, but I got creeped the hell out. My Amazon Echo just started talking, and I'm the only one here in the house. It might have hurt me. You know, it's right like next door in the bedroom, so it may have hurt me go loud. But but don't worry, I'm fine. I'm safe because brother is always strapped. You dig my meaning? All right. Y'all hit the like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. We've gotten on down. It's now time to get on up. I will be in touch with you, Brother Sean. I was going to say, too, before the call came in, I'm proud to announce I'm going to be working on my next writing project. I have a book that I'm going to be writing about, and I also have a screenplay that I have in mind. So I know Sean, I've tried to get Brother Sean to do some screen work with me, but I understand he's busy, and he's got like his 100, he's going for 100 books pretty soon. So, but right now, you all go and check out, go to his Amazon and purchase the books such as the John Haynes series, as well as The Woman Crisis that's available. Sean, we thank you for tuning in, as always, brother.
All right. Thank you for having me on.
And it's time now, since we've gotten on down, like we always do, it's now time to get on up. This has been another episode of Random Topic Thursdays with your boy, Gavin Shaw Presents, ladies and gentlemen. We love you all. We'll see you all in the next one. We're going to stay tuned for more great content. Peace out, family.
All right.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll be. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the 4 corners. Electric slide or 2. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Now 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the floor, baby. Yeah, gotta get on the floor. Come on, baby, gotta get on the floor, baby. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.